Did you know that breaking the fourth wall is a term used to describe talking to the camera? Actors who are in character look at the camera to almost indicate they're aware they're inside a fictional story. We often see this in comedy, but a few horror movies added this to their films. Continue watching as we break down some of the well-done breaking the fourth wall moments in a movie. First up, Funny Games, 1997/2000. Funny Games, the original, was released in Austria in 1997, and in America did its version in 2007. This movie has been described as dark and sadistic, even though it has the word funny in its title. A family goes on vacation when it turns wrong. For whatever reason, two men hold them hostage. They hurt them in twisted ways, which is terrifying to watch. The reason for this is not explained, but I would question why having an explanation would make this seem not so terrible, when it just is terrifying either way. Would a reason make this less so? In one scene, one of the men looks at the camera and rewinds the film, reminding everyone that the family did not survive. The movie, Funny Games, is one of the most uncomfortable movies to watch, perhaps because it is not about monsters, but about real people. The sad reality is, this probably has happened to somebody's family. Next, Rubber, 2010. Rubber is interesting. A French filmmaker, Quentin Dupieux, based his movie around a tire. Rubber is an odd film about a tire that goes around killing people because it has telekinetic powers. The town sheriff narrates this movie and invites the audience in as everyone watches the movie unfold. The audience is reminded that there is no real meaning to what they're watching. What people take away from this film is up to them. It could be a movie about a tire going on a rampage and destroying and killing people. Or it could be about looking at violence differently. Whatever it is, the director has left that up to you. And now we have Wes Craven's New Nightmare, 1994. Wes Craven is known for meta horror. The creator of this film is also known for Scream and A Nightmare on Elm Street. This is a man who knows how to create a horror film. This film is known for breaking the fourth wall and bringing the audience to the screen. The film allows Heather Langenkamp and Robert Englund to get into their characters by acting out the scenes from the original movie. The movie shows the terror that Freddy Krueger would have had if he were real. It also has him torturing the people in this story and making the audience feel like they are a part of it. Shaun of the Dead, 2004. Shaun of the Dead mixes zombies and British humor in this film, so what's not to love? This spoof of the movie helped reinnovate this genre. Edgar Wright and Simon Pegg wrote the film. The writers said that they took inspiration from this film from George A. Romero. They thought it would be funny to create a film based in England and how Britons would react if zombies invaded them. The premise of the film makes this a funny movie. The writers added layers of textures and reflectiveness, making it easier for the audience to watch. The audience feels like they are watching a parody. Even though this film is a comedy, it is still considered a well put together horror masterpiece given its primary genre in the film. Moving on to The Last Horror Movie, 2003. This movie at first seems straightforward, slasher film. This film stands out because of the anti-hero Max. Max takes the audience on a journey with his terrible murders. While this unfolds, he looks at the camera. He starts speaking to the camera as if he's talking to the audience. He reminds them of their liking for violence. Why else would you watch the film, right? This makes the audience reflect on why they're happy to continue watching these murders to begin with, and whether or not Max could be coming after them next. It was certainly an unsettling experience watching this film. Next, Student Bodies, 1981. This film makes fun of slashers while they're trying to create conventions. The killer resembles other murderers in other films. He goes after the teenagers who are rebellious, while the killer makes a sound that is always recognizable, heavy breathing. There is a scene where the producer talks to the camera, says the R-rated films do well and uses obscenities to get the rating. The awareness makes this movie a fan favorite, with a cult following they probably didn't expect. And now we have the Rocky Horror Picture Show, 1975. This original Rocky Horror Picture is part of the horror genre because it can blend science fiction, a musical, comedy, and horror all in one film. The original film is from a musical stage show. It does not shy away from winks and looks at the shallowness in the genre itself, especially at the end. When Dr. Dr. Frankenfurter sings into the camera, the narrator is a criminologist who gives the audience background and makes the audience aware that all that is happening is part of the larger story. This is one of those movies that you either love or hate. Which category do you fall into? Either way, if you want something different, it is worth a look. Moving on to The Twilight Zone, the movie, 1983. This 1983 movie takes a slightly different approach than the series. It is disturbing as it looks into the dark parts of the human psyche and takes a meta approach too. Dan Aykroyd is being driven around and asks the driver about his thoughts on what he believes to be the scariest series before he looks at the camera. Finally, he asks, "Do you want to see something really scary?" He's actually talking to the driver, but Dan does it in a way that he is talking to the audience rather than the driver. This is an interesting take on the original series, and the critics had mixed reviews. But if you like the original classic, give this one a shot. Next, Cabin in the Woods, 2011. The Cabin in the Woods is a parody of slasher films, but it does have other layers to it as well. The film follows college kids who go to a cabin for a weekend, only to realize they're part of a large phenomenon. These 5 characters are classic slasher types, and they all need to die, to the specific slasher movie convention. To make the evil entities happy, this movie makes a lot of references to other films in this genre, and someone could spend a lot of time working them all out. However, working out the Easter eggs in this film makes it a joy for the audience. And now we have Tales from the Dark Side, the movie, 1990. Popular films are anthology films. They're popular because they can tell many narratives within one big one. This film is a classic for many because of the little boy that is at the center of it all. Timmy is the narrator of the stories within this film. There are 3 of them. He does this to avoid being eaten and killed by a witch. This works out for the boy as the witch is unaware of Timmy's smartness. Timmy outsmarts the witch, making the end an unexpected one because it is a happy ending. Moving on to The Woman in Black, 2012. This movie by James Watkin is a gothic horror movie. It follows Arthur Kipps in the 20th century in England. He goes to an isolated mansion to get documents for a real estate deal. But he doesn't realize until he gets there that a ghost haunts this house. The spirit is a woman in a veil who attracts children to the place to kill them. This movie is very dark and creepy. It has a happy ending similar to other films in this genre. There is a scene where the woman looks at the camera and says she knows the audience is there and that they're next. The effect is creepy for viewers, making this a breaking the fourth wall entry even though it was only brief. And finally, The Ring, 2002. This is a remake of the Japanese film Ringu. This film can make the audience believe that if you're watching the girl crawl out of the wall, you will die within the next 7 days. The film's protagonist is a journalist named Rachel Keller, who discovers the truth. She learns that a ghostly girl did the murders. The journalist may have only averted death because she made a copy of the tape and wasn't watching the original video as everyone else did. Even though it is not quite in the same league as breaking the fourth wall, just a pure suggestion that the audience could die because they watched the tape makes it part of this list. Anyone in the audience could be her next victim. Therefore, it made the audience very nervous for the next 7 days. Were you one of those people? Thanks for watching this video on top horror films that break the fourth wall. Do you agree with this list? Please leave a comment below and tell us what you think. We would love to hear from you. Remember to like and subscribe.